Hi, everyone.
Hello again. We're in the Pure Worship book, right at the end, doing the so-called clarifications. This time we're dealing with the Ezekiel 37 passage about the two sticks. What do they want to say this is about? And they're saying here that their teaching has been clarified over the decades, but when you look at it, the clarification again is not the right word, because you're just changing the interpretation, sometimes more than once, by the way, but This is the latest one. This is 2018, right? So I'm going to be reading from the screen, the document on the screen, and Vivian from the book. Here we go. Mouse problems.
Okay.
There we go. What is the meaning of the joining together of the two sticks? The previous understanding. After a brief period of disunity during World War I, faithful members of the Anointed Remnant regained their unity in 1919. Clarification. The prophecy highlights that Jehovah will cause his worshippers to become one. After 1919, as time progressed, members of the Anointed Remnant were joined by an increasing number of those with an earthly hope. Both groups are worshiping Jehovah together as one people. Now they say this is the reasoning behind the change. The prophecy does not describe one stick that is first torn in two and then later brought together as one. Thus, the prophecy does not describe one group that would be divided and then later be reunited. Instead, it describes how two different groups would become united.
Baloney. We're talking about Israel.
So, no, actually, you've got further away from the light here, because your original idea was at least correct in the aspect that it was about one people that had become two people and was going to be reunited by God's supernatural work.
Yeah.
God himself, as we'll see in a minute, interprets this prophecy right in the text.
Yeah.
But you're only citing 3 verses, and you're making it into the idea of two different groups.
Yeah.
And what do you mean by that? Well, one group is the anointed, and one group is the ones with the earthly hope.
The earthly hope. But, you're always bragging that you take things from the Bible. Well, where in the Bible does it say anything about you in 1919?
Yeah, this obsession with the year 1919, but when you think about it, it's not just obsession with a year, a date. Of course, they've got obsessions with another date we know about, but this seems to be taking over as the main date. This is the date when we became Jehovah's people.
Yeah, the ones he chose.
The only ones he was using. But it's not just an obsession with a date, because what is actually happening in 1919? Well, your president and the builder of your organization, JF Rutherford, is released from prison. So you now talk about the release of JF Rutherford more than you talk about Jesus Christ rising from the dead.
Yeah. I don't know. This clarification, it's they won't let go of themselves being in the text.
Yeah.
And as long as you do that, you're going to remain in the dark when it comes to what this means, because it can't speak for itself. You won't let it speak for itself.
We're going to let Jehovah speak for himself, because it's even in the New World Translation what he interprets all of this as. But let's just reassert the point. What is the idolatrous point about all this? Well, you make Ezekiel about JF Rutherford being released from prison and him building an organization which is now your idol.
Yeah.
Rutherford is the man who built this idol, not Russell.
Yeah.
So you are followers of JFR. You're actually worshippers of JFR at this point.
Yeah.
You talk about 1919 more than you put. If I asked you what's the date of Jesus' resurrection, could the average witness answer my question? Maybe an educated older one might have the answer. But you know the date you became God's organization, because they won't stop telling you about it.
Yeah. And I mean, you're taking this from a book about a nation, Israel, and I don't know if most witnesses know that there was a division early in the history of Israel. There was a division, the 2 tribes and the 10 tribes. So that's one group that's divided into 2. And eventually they'll be reunited according to the end of Ezekiel.
And that happened in a minor way after the exile was over, the Babylonian exile.
Yeah.
But it will happen in a greater way. The Bible is very emphatic about this in the future. And that is the meaning of the text, according to Jehovah, in the text itself. Why don't we read it from the New World Translation, but not just the verses that they cite, which are 15 to 17. Just read verse 18, for instance, you get the beginning of the problem.
When your people say to you, will you not tell us what these things mean? So they ask that question.
And then Jehovah actually tells you what this text means.
Yeah, the next verse says.
So why don't we read the whole thing and get the gist
Okay,
from the beginning?
We'll start where they start, 15. Then when you hear what I just said, that's what they left off. And then we'll keep reading though. The word of Jehovah again came to me, saying, and you, son of man, take a stick and write on it, for Judah and for the people of Israel who are with him. Then take another stick and write on it, for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and all the house of Israel who are with him. Then bring them close to each other, so that they become just one stick in your hand. Now 18. When your people say to you, will you not tell us what these things mean? Tell them, this is what the sovereign Lord Jehovah says. I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel who are with him, and I will join them to the stick of Judah, and I will make them one stick, and they will become one in my hand. The sticks that you write on should be in your hand for them to see. Then tell them, this is what the sovereign Lord Jehovah says. I will take the Israelites from among the nations where they have gone, and I will collect them together from every direction, and bring them into their land. I will make them one nation in the land, on the mountains of Israel, and one king will rule over all of them. And they will no longer be two nations, nor will they be divided any longer into two kingdoms. They will no longer defile themselves with their disgusting idols and their detestable practices and all their transgressions. I will save them from all their unfaithfulness by which they have sinned, and I will cleanse them. They will be my people, and I myself will be their God. My servant David will be their king, and they will all have one shepherd. They will walk in my judicial decisions and carefully observe my statutes. They will dwell on the land that I gave to my servant, to Jacob, where your forefathers lived, and they will dwell on it forever, they and their children, and their children's children. And David my servant will be their chieftain forever. And I will make a covenant of peace with them, and it will be an eternal covenant with them. I will establish them and make them many, and place my sanctuary among them forever. My tent will be with them, and I will be their God, and they will be my people. And the nations will have to know that I, Jehovah, am sanctifying Israel when my sanctuary is in their midst forever.
Is it plain what Jehovah says this is all about?
Yeah, and who?
So when you say it's about two classes. It's about a heavenly group, the anointed, and it's about another group who are going to live on earth together. This has nothing to do with the text. What this is about is one people who are going to be reunited. They have become two people. Now they're going to be reunited as one people with one hope, which is to live in the land that he gave to Jacob and to the patriarchs before Jacob forever.
Yeah.
Is it clear? Where is Israel going to live then? Well, you have it that spiritual Israel is going to be in heaven forever, and another class who are not spiritual Israel are going to be on the earth forever. This is exactly the opposite of what it says. No, at this point, they're not in the land. They're in Babylon or in Assyria or other points, far-flung places. They're going to be in the land, though, forever. and their
Yeah.
children, and their children's children.
Yeah.
I don't know if God could say it more emphatically.
I mean, when you're naming Joseph and Judah and Jacob, and you're talking about your forefathers, how can you not see who this is about? And David, my servant, will be their king.
This is obviously not after the exile. David was not raised from the dead after the exile, and Messiah did not come after the exile.
Yeah,
So it's in
future.
the future. It's the ultimate destiny of Israel.
An eternal covenant. I'm going to establish an eternal covenant, and my sanctuary will be among them forever. I don't know. To me, this is very clear.
Jehovah speaking here. So what are you actually guilty of when you refuse to believe what Jehovah actually says? You reserve the right to reinterpret this, as you call it, clarify it, over and over again.
So you have to ask yourself, who are you going to believe? Rutherford, the organization, or Jehovah? That's what it comes down to. And if you choose the organization or Rutherford, because really what you believe is mostly made up from him, but if you even just say, well, I have to follow the organization, then you have put them as an idol above Jehovah.
Yeah, it's as clear as that. The idol that JF Rutherford built is now become, is the thing that prevents you from seeing what even the page of the New World Translation
that you
says.
would rather trust what they clarify, what they say it means, rather than what the text itself says.
So Jehovah himself has given you his official interpretation, but you refuse to believe what he says. Isn't that absolutely pathetic and sad?
It's sad. It's very sad.
What's our link?
What is it?
Well, if we can't find it, we'll find it.
I don't see a link. Nope, I don't see a link. Oh, yes, I do. Sorry, I wrote it at the bottom because I didn't have space. Paradise after 1919. Exile cured the Jews. JW cleansing led to open worship of 9 men. And we were doing another thing from this book, Pure.
Yeah.
So it's an earlier video from this book, Pure Worship.
See you next time.
Sorry.
You can have it this time, because I couldn't make it work last time.
Yeah. Oh, no. You have to take it off this page. We're really messing up here. Sorry.
All right, let's try again.
Okay.
See you soon.